Hey, what's going on? I'm Alex Southey, and you are listening to a new episode of Your Worst Song. We're still doing video, or we're not still, we're now doing video. So if you're listening to this on audio, you decide you want to look at our faces, it's available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, I think. I don't really know. But it should be good. Otherwise, it's going to default to audio. That's also fine. Where am I at right now? My laptop's just been fixed, which is great. That's what I'm doing this on. And Mabel's doing well, still cracking the whip. Feed her 3 times a day, and she yells at me anyway. In this case, for this interview, I have Miss Ricky. She does R&B, pop, dark R&B. I don't quite know how to put it into a box, but either way, it made for very interesting music to talk about. In addition to her just being forthcoming about herself and where she sees herself soon and in her career, and how she sort of set the table for her career, so to speak, by really being smart about what she practiced when she was younger and how she practiced. Lots to learn. I say that about most episodes, but whatever. And yeah, if you're watching this, I did get a haircut. All right, for the people who aren't watching this, it's a mohawk. It's crazy. It's totally crazy, my haircut. All right, I'm Alex Southey, and you are listening to or watching Your Worst Song.
Awesome. Well, how's it going? Usually I just start with a fade in and just ask, how's your fade in? We talked a little bit about it. You said you had a session. Do you want to talk more about that?
I'm currently kind of finalizing the little pieces to hopefully come out with like a remix EP of my single that I'm coming out this Friday, Pick It Up.
Okay.
And so I've just been working on like the one remix of it. And so, yeah, that went really well. Always love producing, so these things are fun for me, and so it's also interesting producing with somebody else because I am producing it with my management actually. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
super fun. Yeah. Yeah.
And when you say one of the remixes, this remix you're going to release, it'll be multiple versions of the single that you've released. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Is that common in the R&B side of things, like, or I come from music from like a folk and rock place, and so remixes aren't that common, and so I'm curious how it is. Is that like a common thing to do?
I see it more with pop music.
Or pop?
A lot of times, like a lot of times people might do like either like a slowed version or an acoustic version or like a dance remix, and so you kind of get those for like post release, and so I see that more with pop music rather than like R&B.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Is there one version of it that you're particularly looking forward to? Like, what was the session version? If you're allowed to talk about it. If you're not, that's okay.
Yeah. No, of course. So we were working on the dance remix for it, and which is super fun because I really like house music when it comes to like EDM and the dance music world, and so it's kind of exploring and tapping into that more, like, you know, what kind of vibes and things like that. But I am particularly excited for that version of it because I think it's definitely like different from what I've released.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's just like probably fun to have something that you can imagine people dancing to and like in a clubby way, you know?
Exactly.
Is there anything that stood out with that remix type that you were like super excited when it happened? Like, how did they make it come to life in the way that you wanted it to reflect that vibe, if that makes sense? You and the producer. The other producer.
Yeah, we kind of like I came in with some like inspiration, like some tracks that I really like, that I would just like normally listen to. And so I really like some artists that I really like are like Disclosure and like Jazzy and vibes like that is kind of what I was inspired by. And so is a lot of just like back and forth, and we're still like kind of getting like the basis of the song down still, but
it's using those as reference tracks, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Are you a type who feels really I know some musicians feel really inspired when they're like in the studio, in the session doing it, and other people who kind of, they like it, but that's like work time and they feel freer outside of maybe the studio when they're just working on the song on a single instrument or just on their laptop or something. Like, which section of the process do you really like? Maybe all of it, hopefully all of it, but is there anything that you like when you find yourself in it, you're like, oh my God? Personally, as a musician, for me, like, I love the section where the song is written, but it's like you're dressing it up with the arrangement. I like that personally.
For me, it's the writing part, because like the whole reason why I kind of like went into music was to like express myself. And so like writing music and writing lyrics came very naturally to me.
Okay.
And so that's how I kind of like, from lyrics, I kind of then produced and things like that. And now I've kind of like, sometimes I produce first and sometimes I write, but I find that like writing lyrics and like melodies and things like that comes a lot more naturally to me.
Well, that's really interesting. I've talked about this with other people, and I find people have their own way of like approaching songwriting, and some people will start with the lyrics and then go, okay, how can I come up with the melody that matches that syllable count? Or it'll be vice versa, right? They go, there's the melody. So which do you prefer? It sounds like you do both, but I find the starting with lyrics and then fitting it in the melody harder.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I usually like come up with like the melodies and like the lyrics with it, and then I'll produce it.
Oh, so those two
that,
things
if
come
that
at the
makes
same
sense.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
100%. And like I usually will like because I know how to play piano, like if I'm like thinking of a melody and like I came up with the lyrics with it, and then what I'll do is build up like the chord foundation first, and then that's how I start the production.
Yes, okay, I understand that. That makes sense. So you have like the basis, you have the basic sections of the song, so it's like it's mapped out, and then you can play with what's on top, or that kind of thing. Cool. Well, how long has that been going on? Like, how long have you been writing in a way that wasn't, in a way where you had the real goal of a career in mind?
Oh, I always wanted to be a singer and a musician since I was like very, very young.
Okay,
Like,
you're one of those people who just knew.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like, people are like, oh, get real and things like that. Like music's not a real thing, but I always loved music. Like I remember like I was in grade school and I would just like write lyrics, and I would come up with these melodies. And even though I didn't know piano at the time or any sort of like instrumentation, I just loved writing and I loved creating melodies in my head. And like I found that I was so like, I was free to just like imagine and like create and just like express myself. And that's what I loved about it. And so it wasn't until 2019, when I was in my last year like of high school, is when I started producing.
Okay.
And and so it was kind of just like a gradual kind of like since my younger days, and then like slowly building on that. And then finally I kind of like started producing, and then that was like my once I started producing, I was like, okay, I really want to take this seriously and really, really start pursuing it. Yeah.
And how did you, when you say you started producing, is that like a piece of, like, are you saying, oh, I got Logic when I turned 18 and that allowed me to start, or what was it? Was it that literally?
It was literally that.
Oh, okay.
I literally started producing on Logic.
There you go. Yeah, no, and Logic is great and still used from everybody who starts to it's professional. So it's smart that you taught yourself.
Yeah, and like I still use Logic, and then I remember like during that time when I was starting out, like I bought like a little MIDI controller, and I was like, okay, let's just plug it in and like figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And it was quite literally just me like trying to like punch in a bunch of things, scroll up and down, watch a few YouTube videos, and then there you go.
It's really intimidating. I found like gear is tough. It's, or at the very least, it seems more intimidating than it actually is. Once you figure it out, it's like, okay, it's not too tough to get what you want out of it. But yeah, at first you're staring at all these knobs and you're like, I don't even know what's gain, what's compression, what's all of these things, right? Yeah. And so do you 100%. Feel having some people only do the songwriting and some people only do the producing. Was that a thing that you were like, I want to follow both of these things so that I'm never sort of left needing somebody if that's the case? Like right now you're working with other people and that's fine, but it's not out of necessity. You could produce it if you wanted to, right? So yeah, what was that like when you're running down two parallel lanes?
I always had this thing of like and I don't know like what part of me is this referring to, but like I always don't want to depend on other people. And for me, like because I love music so much and there's such a passion for it, it seems really natural for me to learn all aspects of it. So writing and production. Right. And so I wanted to be very independent, and I didn't want to like limit myself. Like I want to keep learning and I want to keep growing as a musician. And so it seemed, a natural fit for me to do both.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And while you're going through this, because it is tough and you have those moments probably sitting in front of the machine, like, what the fuck am I doing? Did your parents, were they there to support you, and were they interested, and are they musical people at all, either as an audience or as players or anything?
So I'm the only musician in my family.
Okay.
My parents, work very regular jobs, but I'm very blessed to like, and very, very grateful that my parents were always very supportive of my love for music and for my passion for it. Like my dad, he, my parents are immigrants. And so when they came to Canada, my dad specifically, like, he gave up his passion back where he came from. And, he's stuck working this job to provide for his family. But I think naturally, like, that could have created some resentment, but it didn't. And he was like, follow your passion, follow your dreams, and do what makes you happy. And I'm very grateful for my mom as well, because she saw that I had like a very natural like inclination towards music. Like, 'cause when I was a kid, she bought me like a toy piano, and I would just like start like plunking notes and like hearing different like notations. So she was like, okay, like let's equip her, let's put her into piano lessons, let's put her into like vocal lessons, and let's let her grow. And my mom is like probably like my biggest fan. Like she's always like sharing it with her colleagues and things like that. But yeah, so they're very, very supportive with my dream.
That's very nice. Sorry, I had a volume issue. Sorry. No, that's so nice. I totally do feel like I hear a lot that the case is sort of maybe the immigrant generation is going to work a job they don't like to give the next generation they can find some. I've heard this phrasing that it's like the first generation works a menial job, the second generation tries to run for office, and the third generation becomes an artist. That's the sort of joke thing that I've heard. But I think there's some truth to that, obviously, and it's wonderful that they weren't resentful, because frankly, as an often cynical person, I could see that, But no, that's great 100%. That they're really supportive. Have they come and seen you play live, or what is it like for them when they see you perform?
Well, to be honest, I haven't performed in like a while live.
Okay. No worries.
Yeah, I did a lot when I was like in school, and they would always come out to those, and again, that's something that I am very grateful for, because I do come from a very dysfunctional family, but when it came to like my dreams and like showing up for my passion, my parents were always there.
Wow. No, that's pretty great. They had their priorities set straight, it seems like, which is good.
I'm very grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about actually you on your bio it says Goan Canadian artist, and I want to talk a bit about that. Like, I'm not really familiar at all with people who are Goan.
So
right?
Goa is a state in India, so Indian Goan, and so the reason why I specifically say Goan is because India is such a beautiful country, and that it's like there's so many different like ethnic groups and languages and different cultures within. It's a subcontinent, and so like for me, my father is actually Goan, and my mother is from two different parts of India, but I always was I identify as a Goan Canadian because I was always in touch with my father's side a lot, and the things that he grew up as. And I personally like didn't grow up with a lot of Goans, and so I held on to that a lot.
Oh,
And
interesting.
into like the specific Goan culture, and just like into those like cultural, like it feels more familial to me. And so
Yeah.
and I never thought of that as like a disadvantage not growing up with other Goans, because I had my dad and I had my family, and like for me I just thought, like maybe this is just like another opportunity, like that someone else, some other Goan might see this and be like, hey, you can do art and you can do music as
Yeah,
well.
right. Absolutely. Yeah, I was actually going to say, since maybe from the get-go that's been part of your bio, but if not, since you have highlighted it, have any other Goan folks from that area reached out to you, either of immigrants or actually from the area? Have they been like, that's so cool,
Not yet, but
No.
I hope.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
hopeful. No
Well,
one yet, but I'm still
Hit
finding
Miss
them.
Ricky up. Hit Miss Ricky up. She's waiting for it,
Exactly.
all right? Yeah. Anyway, no, I wanted to
Exactly.
highlight it basically for the same reason I think you did. I just thought, okay, that's interesting. You're making a note of it, so why not bring it up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any notable like Goan music culture that maybe you've internalized in some way or synthesized and it comes out at all in your music? Sense of melody, maybe?
I wouldn't say so much like Goan music. I think like when I like a lot of the Goan music that I do listen to is like the stuff that my dad grew up with, and so it's a
Yeah.
lot of like old melodies, and I do find that that's something that like I what I like about Goan music specifically, and just even like South Asian music in general, is that it's very expressive. And compared to like English as a language, like Konkani and Hindi and all these South Asian languages are very, very expressive more than English is. And so I think that aspect, especially when it comes to like love songs, it's very, very passionate. And so I think I got that side of it
Oh,
into my
interesting.
music.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me more about that? Like in what, if you can articulate it, what, because I'm definitely not disagreeing. I feel like that's the thing about English. It can be kind of closed off in a way, especially compared to other cultural languages or whatever. But yeah, in what way is it more expressive? Like, is it melodramatic in the way that like opera is in a way, or what is it?
I guess just like in the words, and like there's always like I've noticed is like a sense of like longing. And there's like, yearning within the song as well. And particularly in like love songs or Desi love songs, there's some sort of like yearning and like longing,
Yeah.
which I find that is able to express more in those languages than it is in English. And yeah, I just find that there's some expressions in English that don't match to these other languages as well.
Right. Interesting. Interesting. No, that's cool. That makes sense. I understand that as much as I can as a buttoned up person. I would love to talk a little bit more about, you said you did shows more in school that like a while ago. Do you want to talk a bit about that? Like what did those shows look like? Did you go to a regular high school, or what was this school that allowed you to do shows and stuff?
I did.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, yeah. I went to like regular like public
Okay.
high school, and so like it would just be like variety shows and like talent shows, or I was like in the music program would put on like little gigs and things like that around the school, and so yeah, I did not come from like a special high school
No,
whatsoever.
like a performing
And so,
arts
like,
high school or anything. I see.
Oh, no. This was like a regular public high school in the middle of nowhere because it's Milton. But
Yeah, right.
like, it's like, I just wanted to like improve that part of myself, and I just wanted to like, sing and like put
Yeah.
myself out there. And so any like opportunity or any like clubs in like high school that would allow me to perform, I usually would like join them.
Wow. Okay, so you're eager. You're right. Like you really knew what you wanted to do or were interested in from a young age. If at that point you were already
Yeah.
seeking it out, that's something I'm personally hung up on. Is like, wow, some people are really confident enough to there's vulnerability in singing and being an artist, and I'm so amazed at when high school age kids are able to do that. But anyway, I want to talk about Milton a little bit. I'm sort of asking this as a half joke because I assume I know what the answer is. But what kind of music scene is there in Milton for R&B?
For R&B
or pop? You know,
honestly, I wouldn't.
Is
even
it
know.
just like sucked into Toronto, kind of, or what?
It kind of is, yeah. Like it's kind of sucked into like I guess like the west side of the GTA a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
GTA.
I personally like don't know any other like Milton artists. Like
Okay.
I'm not
Milton
really,
artists.
I guess as like yeah, I'm not really
Hit her
like
up.
in the scene as much.
Okay, gotcha. So then where are you based? Is maybe a better question. Are you in Milton right now? Are you in Toronto? Or...
I am in Milton, yeah.
You are in
I
Milton.
do live in
Okay.
Milton.
So would
Yes.
you ever consider, what if you started like an open mic there and people would start flocking and it's a little scene? Would you ever consider that? That's just I didn't prepare that question. It's just occurred to me that that's a way to start something.
Oh, 100% I would. Anything
Yep.
to like just with music and like just any opportunity, like why not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And okay, so then how did you find your way to LaToya? Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, so I actually back in October I started I found out about the Singers Company. So which is like a company and a record label that helps independent artists grow into full-time artists in the industry. And my friend actually, like from high school, sent me like their Singers Got Talent audition. And it was like this random thing. I did some research and I was like, okay, I'll just do the audition. And that was like a whole thing in of itself. But essentially, like they ended up like, you know, liking my song that I sang. And so I started working with the Singers Company officially in January.
Okay.
And so as part of like, you know, putting out a single and putting out my album this year, my management decided, okay, why don't we work with a publicist? And so he referred me to Roy, who is, you know, helping me out.
Yep.
Roy Hamilton
Yep.
referred me to LaToya, and then that's how we connected.
Okay, nice. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I met LaToya through an interview series she was doing for a little while, or she still does it, but I was following it more closely for a little while. Just got sucked into this, but no, that's great that you found them. I feel like is it sort of palpable to you now that like, okay, you were brought on to this management thing and now they're pairing you with a PR person? Can you feel like the little steps up the ladder? Is that something you're thinking about, and like where your future is, as general as that is?
Yeah, like first of all, like this is something that like working with a publicist and like, you know, working with like, you know, this management team was something that I never expected. Like
Okay,
I didn't think that I would be able to like have the opportunity to work with a publicist. And
Right.
so
No.
I'm
That's
super
cool.
grateful for her, and like it's really, I do feel like I'm slowly progressing and I'm learning a lot, and I think that's what's like more valuable to me. And like, you know, working with different people, I'm like learning more aspects of the industry that I never would have known, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And so for that, I'm super grateful because I do feel like I'm learning more and I'm growing and hopefully becoming like a better artist that way.
No, for sure. And it's also a little bit like what you already did with production as well. Like you're not just handing it over to somebody and then not paying attention. You're handing it over to somebody and paying attention on how to do it. So you're learning. So, you know, it just helps your vocabulary when you need to speak to somebody about what you want in PR or in production or whatever, right? Yeah. Well, let's talk a bit about the album because that's pretty exciting. Can we talk about the album?
Yeah.
I don't know what we can say. Okay, yeah.
Yes,
well,
we can.
yeah. I know that's the main reason in general you're on, but I wasn't sure what's, you know, behind the curtain, so to speak. But yeah, I want to talk about what the album was like. When you started writing it, did you have it mapped out in general, or were you like, okay, maybe you were just writing in general and then you got, okay, I've got enough, maybe 6 or 7 songs now, let's start writing in a direction and adding songs to that? I'm curious which way you did it.
So yeah, like this was something that I started like almost like 4 years ago, and
Wow.
I wrote the first, you know, two, three songs, and at the time I knew that I wanted to group them into something, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was yet. And like I could feel like a concept slowly there, but it wasn't there as yet. And then so I kept writing, and I kept on like working on other things, and I was like, oh wait, like this is actually like, you know, there's a story to it. There's like a
Mm-hmm.
concept. And so I
Yeah.
started like arranging things, and like um it was something that like it was a very slow progression, but once I had all these songs, it was like, okay, for me, it made no sense for it to be just a bunch of singles, because it kind of flows into one another, and there's a journey with the music, and so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let's, you know, you know, tweak it and make it more detailed, and so that it can be a concept album as
Mm-hmm.
to what it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's super interesting. Are there other concept albums in the past from any genres of music that inspired you to try and do that? Like in rock, you know,
Mhm.
Dark Side of the Moon is by Pink Floyd is one of the most famous concept albums or whatever, right? I
Yeah.
know in other genres, especially hip hop, like that's pretty off common. So what was it for you? Were there any North Stars, so to speak?
Um, yeah, 100%. There was so Crybaby by Melanie Martinez,
Okay.
which was like the alt pop in like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I like loved that album, and I loved that there was like visuals with the music, and like I love that there was a storyline to it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was whimsical, and it was, you know, it was also expressive, and there was so many like metaphors into it. And so I love that there was like this journey with the music. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, when I saw an album like that, I was like, okay, that's how I want to make an album. Like I want there
Right.
to be a journey with it. I want there to be a story with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That for sure was one of the albums. Badlands by Halsey was also
Mm-hmm.
another
Mm-hmm.
one that I was like, this is so interesting. Like it makes it more like it allowed me to be more engaged with music, and so that's why like
Oh.
albums like that kind of like inspired me and to create my own concepts.
No, absolutely, and that's cool that that's what you were sort of into. You're right. It's like building a deeper world that you can kind of fall into if it's a concept album, as opposed to just maybe 8 great songs, but they don't relate to each other at all, or there's no arc or that kind of thing. Uh,
Hmm.
so if you can tell me maybe simply what the concept or concepts are on this record that like lead the thing.
Hmm. So Sounds at Night, which is the album, is it goes through the journey of um exploring romantic desire, and it follows a girl and her journey with, you know, what she wants, and she's discovering her self-worth when it comes to romance and relationships. There's this sort of yearning and desire, but a lot of insecurities come up in the way, and there's heartbreak, but there's also at one point confidence, and so it's just exploring like the highs and lows of being interested in somebody, and also putting yourself out there, and how scary that can be.
Okay, no, that's very relatable. Obviously, what are
Hmm.
there? And is there an arc to it in terms of the romantic life of this? Like, I guess what I mean is, by the end of the album, is she somewhere different in her life? You know what I mean?
100%. The last song to me describes maturity,
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely closes the story. And my goal also was to end on a positive note. And so with the last song in the album, it's kind of, it closes everything off, but in a positive and hopeful way. And yeah, I, without trying to like give away too much, it really ties everything together, and the character, and so to speak, in this album is in a way different place than the first song, 100%.
And what I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this. I guess I'm curious, is there also, there are some concept albums, like there's one that I like by the Arctic Monkeys, this is their first album, and it's generally about going out and going to nightclubs and dancing and being like messed up at 17 and whatever. But there's not necessarily an arc the way you can trace it. Like it kind of jumps around. It's almost like little short stories centered around the same concept instead of songs in chronological order. So I guess I'm asking, additionally, she's in a different place at the end. Are all the songs in chronological order, or are they a little bit here and there jumping back and forth?
So it kind of goes through like different stages. That's how I could best describe it. And so the first song is kind of like a thesis of like the whole entire album, in that like it kind of starts off as a summary, and then the second song kind of gets into the story, and then from that it's just the different stages that you kind of go through when going through romantic desire, and again, putting yourself out there, and what you want in a relationship. And so it goes through like these different kind of emotions and stages, so to speak, of that journey.
Okay, I see. You said it ends, without giving things away, you said it ends on a more positive note. I really like that idea, because I think that maybe what would be expected is to end it, if not on I don't necessarily think sad note, but a note of like more like a question mark that might be like a key into, oh, this is going to make them listen to the next album, almost the way like a season finale cuts off, or has a cliffhanger. But I like that you went the other way. No, this is going to be generally positive. Does that mean that you would want this to be self-contained? There's not going to be a part 2 or something like that?
Yeah, 100%. Like before I had even like wrote the last song, so it was originally 6 songs in the project, and it was gonna end off on like a more sad and like almost depressing like note.
Okay, yeah.
And then I thought to myself, like, that is not an expression of me, and that isn't like, I don't want to leave it on an open-ended note, because I like it when things are complete or something feels complete, and it also wouldn't feel true to like my personal journey. And so I was like, okay, I had this beat, and I was like, wait, this kind of fits into the concept a little bit. And then I wrote the lyrics, and I was like, this is the last song, and like this feels right to me. And like,
cool.
I don't ever want to be I know I have a lot of like depressing and like sad songs, but for this specific like project, it felt wrong to end on that.
Right. No, that's I keep thinking of the word responsible. That's a responsible way to end it for your audience, instead of twisting the knife at the end instead. Well, that begs the question. It ends on a positive note. Maybe you can read into that, or maybe I can read into that and say you're in a more positive place in your life now. Is the whole next album going to be Lord style, whatever that Solar Power or whatever it was? It's all happy, better place. Is that the next concept going to be Don't Worry, Be Happy or something like that?
I don't know about like Don't Worry, Be Happy, but I think it's definitely going to be more bold and more like confident, I think.
Cool. So you've already got like the ideas are already kind of germinating, even if you're still focusing on this section?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I've already like started working on a couple of the songs actually, so yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's pretty exciting. I love that feeling of you're almost trying to keep up with your own musical ideas and interests with the pace of them. Well, let's get into the first official of 4 questions, and that's getting back to live stuff. I want to hear what you thought your best live performance was, and it doesn't have to be you nailed it singing. It can be you had a fun time, whatever. But yeah, it's you as the performer as opposed to audience member.
Yeah, I remember there was this one variety show that I did in school, and it was, I think this was like the first time I had performed an original song.
Oh, that's
And
vulnerable.
I remember I was just literally just me and a piano, and I like started playing it. It's actually like I actually ended up releasing the song. It's called Sweet Boy. I released it on my EP in
Cool, yeah.
2022, and so I had this song like way back. It's like probably the first song that I actually ever written, and so
Wow.
I remember I played it at this variety show, and it was like the first time that like a lot of like my teachers and my peers like saw me perform an original song, and it was a really special moment for me because I had this song for so long, and you know, I always wanted to like perform my own songs, and so this is the first time I actually did that. And it was also nice to see like also my parents see like me perform an original song, and
Yeah.
I remember people were like very impressed with it, and they were really like they didn't know like I could write music. And so like I love surprising people because
Yes.
like, you know, they knew me as like a shy, introverted, like very timid person, and then here
Yeah.
I am like
Yeah.
singing this like really emotional song. And so I I was so happy that I could surprise people, and so I think that's probably why it was like my favorite show that I've done.
Wow. No, that's great. It sounds like that's your that was your sort of like identity graduation. People started taking you more seriously at maybe pursuing music or being a musician or performer, right? I remember
100%.
this is to back you up about how those can make an impression. I remember in elementary school, so I had to have been like whatever 8, this guy, or 10 maybe, this older guy, but older to me, so he was probably like 12 or 13.
Right.
He performed Clocks on a piano in the middle of by Coldplay in the middle of the assembly, and I don't remember who it was anymore, but I remember the audience reaction to this kid who like fucking nailed that song, which at the time was still on the radio and a huge hit. And yeah, just to say, like, those moments can be huge, and like that guy was treated differently after that. I don't even mean like in a cool or uncool way, but just like you're saying, like people start going, wow, I didn't know you could do that. That's another layer to you we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense that sticks out. I'm curious about worst then. Worst performance, if you
Worst?
have a rock bottom.
I definitely do.
Okay.
I still like laugh about this. Like it happened so long. It happened again in school, but
Okay.
it's so funny. Like it was an original song, and it was like a beat that like a friend had made for me. So like I hadn't even like produced it, and it was a good beat, but like I could not find the note. I could not find the note.
Oh no.
The key was not in the room.
Yeah.
I like remember like listening back to it, and I was like, this is not how I wanted to sing my original song.
No.
And I
So was it
so
like, how did that work?
embarrassed.
Was the person there performing like a live version of the beat under you, or was it just with a laptop plugged into a
It was like
whatever?
literally my phone plugged into the speaker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And because there was like a part of the song where it was just like the beat, and so I was supposed to sing on top of it. Like
Right.
I couldn't start on the right note, and
Oh,
then just went
no.
down from there.
I'm going to make you walk me through this. So what happened as obviously you start going, okay, I can't find my place at first, but you must in your head still be hopeful enough that you'll catch it at some point. So what happens?
Yeah. So I was like, I started off, and then, you know, by like the second verse is when like the chords lay in, so I could find, you know, the key
Oh,
and
yes,
the note.
yes.
And so by that point, it's like maybe a minute and a half in, and I'm like, you know, I have to like stick on this note anyways. And then the key, like the chord played, and I was like, oh, that was not.
Oh no.
That was like nowhere near
Oh,
where it was
that's
supposed to
tough.
be. And so I had to like adjust to it, but then it was already like, it just looked really bad. It just sounded
So
bad.
was this performance before or after the really good one?
Unfortunately after. So like I probably lost a lot of street cred after.
Yeah,
but...
you lost that street cred. Wow. People won't treat you the same by the lockers. That's too
No.
funny. Wow. Well, at least I'm sure there will be other shows, you know, well, you're already laughing about it anyway, which is a good attitude to have, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah. Well, okay. Are there actually, out of just curiosity, for going back to Milton, are there venues there? Like I don't mean like big venues or whatever, but just like, are there a lot of bars in the town that will house music or stuff like that? Do you
There
know?
are a few like restaurants and a
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
cafes that like
Okay.
hold open mics.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but like that's really much it, really.
Right, right. Otherwise, you're coming into
Yeah.
Toronto or going somewhere else in the GTA. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, let's move on to your music in terms of the two main questions. So, what do you think is your best song that you've well, because I don't know how that you've released so far that you've released. So on the EP or
Release.
singles, yeah.
Ooh.
Because I'm sure you're super
I
excited about
think-
the album coming out, which is of course right, but
Yeah.
we can't play that or people can't search it up. That's all.
No. Yeah. I really, really like two come to mind for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really liked Don't Get It Twisted, which was off of my first EP, A Dark Night,
Mm-hmm.
back in 2022. That's probably, I think, I think that is a song that like I really like embodies me and like what I wanted to do and like in terms of like production wise and just like the vibe of the song altogether, I feel is like really true to me. And so it's probably one of the most fun songs that I've ever written as well. And then the
Fun.
second
Why
one
is
comes
that?
to mind-
If I may cut in, why fun?
Because it is very bold and it's very it's almost like sassy. And so like I think because it's so like almost like provocative in like nature, it's kind of fun because again, people won't expect that of me. Like
Right,
people who
no.
know me.
That's interesting. It
'Cause
reminds
I am
me a little.
somebody that holds back.
Yeah, no, exactly. It reminds me of the way some actors will say, like, I have trouble expressing myself as myself, but as soon as I put on this other character's clothes or whatever, suddenly, if somebody needs me to belt out a song, even though I know I can't sing, I can do it because I'm playing this other person. It's a little bit like what you're doing, inhabiting that sassy character, even though, from my experience now, you're nothing like that.
Yeah. Like I had fun with it and I remember just like again, like it's so bold and like people who know me are like Erica's not or Miss Ricky is not a
Miss Ricky,
bold
yeah.
person and so yeah. So but my
And you said there was a
favorite-
second one. Yeah. I'm curious.
Yeah. It's Bit by Bit, which is off of my first album For the Ones Who Stayed. I wrote this when I was like super, super young. And I finally like revisited it back in 2024. And I love it because it is, you know, it explores my softer nature and my very like it's just very soft and it's very feminine and I really like that about it. And I also love that it also is like the type of music that I would normally listen to as well, like the slower kind of more like vibey type music. And so
Yeah.
those two I would say for sure are like my favorite of the things that I've released.
And that's so funny because one of them is closer to how people perceive you, the maybe softer side, and then the other one is you basically the opposite end of the spectrum. That's pretty fun. That makes sense that those would be your favorites actually. And something that I'm noting, which is really good, is you haven't used this word, but essentially it seems like you really care about what's authentic to you and what you like. Like it's okay if one version is sassy or bold, and it's okay if one version is the softer thing, but it's going to be what you prioritize, what you're interested in, as opposed to, I don't know, as opposed to only following what might work on the radio that you perceive or in the genre or something like that.
100%. Like I
Yeah.
always want to stay true to me, and like that's the whole reason why I like loved music and why I wanted to get into it is because I could just be myself, and like I don't really want to be like different or like out there or anything like that. I just want to be me and like do the things that I enjoy.
Yeah, and express yourself how you
Yeah.
want to express yourself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. Okay, well
Exactly.
then people go check out those two songs, and we're going to get to the official, the titular question, which is, what do you think is your worst song?
Um, definitely.
Definitely.
I
That's a
like
funny way to start.
I like cringe when I think about it, and when I like wrote this song, I really thought I ate as well.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Off of my second EP, Crush, Dance to the Music is not my favorite
Dance to the
song that
music.
I've written. Dance to the Music. I just
Okay.
feel like it was so cheesy, and it was just so corny and cheesy, and it just
What
it's
what
like
what
it aged
strikes you
so
as corny?
badly.
Is it the music? Is it the lyrics? What is it?
The lyrics.
Okay, so what are is it
is
just
something that I'm
tell
not proud of.
why? What are they? Or not, I don't mean
So
you
the
I don't
first
mean you
one-
need to recite them, but I just mean like what is it corny? What's corny?
I guess just like just the how do I describe this? Like
Is it just the
it's
way you
very
used to the lyrics to describe the situation you now don't think are like cool or timely, stuff like that?
yeah, like I just feel like it could have been more like smooth
Mm.
and like it just the lyrics or the choice of words just doesn't match what I do now.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Something I like to ask about that about worst song answers though is, would you consider redoing it in a way that matches more with what you're doing now, either as a remix or live? You could change up when you start doing live stuff again, or would you ever consider reworking it, or is it just too far gone where you're like, that's cringe, I can't?
I think it's just like I've closed that chapter and that
Okay,
like
gotcha.
that we'll just say what it is and then
Yeah.
we're gonna move on from it.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's very fair. Sometimes you just want to keep that door extremely closed and locked. Is there anything I didn't get into in the interview that you wanted to talk about? Like, do you have any other announcements in addition to the single and the album or anything like that?
I think we pretty much covered everything, but yeah, like
Okay.
I have a single coming out on Friday. It's really exciting, and
Yeah.
that will be like the first single off of my album that will be coming out later in the year.
Okay, no set date for that, or no public date or anything at the moment.
For the album, not yet, no.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, then the last thing that we do is usually have the guest just restate their name and the worst song choice. So if you want to go ahead.
Hi, I'm Miss Ricky, and my worst song is Dance to the Music.
Awesome.
Swear my life is one never-ending cycle. Go to school, then go to work, and then I pay my petty bills. But I know this life has something bigger, and I know the night will bring me something that I won't forget. I want to dance to the music. Won't you sing with me? I want this night to last forever. Won't you set me free? I want to dance to the music. Won't you sing with me? I want this night to last forever. Won't you set me free? I want to dance to the music. Won't you sing with me? I want this night to last forever. Won't you set me free? Don't wanna think about what's gonna happen next, 'cause I'm right here in this moment, and this moment is the best. And I see your face and see what's in your eyes. Want your body next to mine, I want you sing side to side. I want to dance to the music. Won't you sing with me? I want this night to last forever. Won't you set me free? dance to the music. Won't you sing with me? I want this night to last forever. Won't you set me free? I want to dance to the music.